Hi there, everybody. It's Mary Wieden and You live this Wednesday, the 11th. We're going to be talking in just a few minutes with a man who wants to continue being the mayor, and he is Butch Lee of Brandon. You'll have a chance to talk with him and ask him questions, pass along comments or whatever you would like. But first of all, some updates on the plane crash, the helicopter crash yesterday. I just kind of lost it on that one because I've flown, in the helicopter for a lot of years, Skycopter 3, and I will tell you, to be in a helicopter, they are a very acute machine. They're the only machines that try to tear themselves apart when you start them up. I read that in a book, fiction book, and I asked our chief pilot at the time, is that true? And he said, yes, they do. That's what they do. They're just very odd, very acute. Everything is very acute on a helicopter. Even one day, the same guy said, well, here, take the cyclic and see what it feels like. That's a big bar that will decide if it's going to roll to the left or roll to the right, or if it's going to go down or back or what it's going to do. And I had my hand out and I moved it just a little bit, like maybe a 1/16 of an inch, and it moved. Like, whoa. They're very, very intricate. They're very, very involved. And you have every single limb involved, your both arms, both hands, and both your feet, because that's how much it takes to get this thing going. And when it went down, it's just heartbreaking, as you all know. It was one of the helicopters, Air Care from UMMC. We used to, when I did the helicopter, a lot of times there was really no traffic to do. So we would look around for things that you'd like to see as an audience. And we would often get them landing at UMMC. It's just interesting to watch, a helicopter or anything just coming in, just the way it just comes right down straight and just nice and sweet as you can be. Always fascinating to watch. Anyway, so what happened yesterday, don't know, other than I have heard that the 3 people did die, the 2 medical people and the pilot, that they radioed apparently approach, and they said we have approach means the tower means we have engine trouble, and that was the only thing that was heard. That's the newest thing this morning, and I do have the names of the medical people. They're local people from this area. I'm not sure exactly where, but one of them is Dustin Pope. He was flight nurse, and Jacob Kint, or Kint, Kindt, probably Kint. He was on the medical flight crew. We don't know the name of the pilot yet. And I hope it isn't anybody I know. I remember talking with a guy who had been doing Skycopter and went over to do the Air Care. And it was a great opportunity. And by the way, the helicopter that went down yesterday was a Eurocopter Deutschland. Well, Eurocopter is a fine product. Something happened, though. You have to maintain those things at all times. Before you even take off, a pilot is to spend about 20 minutes going around looking at the outside of the helicopter. Is everything in place? Is everything look good? And then get inside and crank it up and make sure that everything sounds good and feels good. Like one time, though, I will say in Skycopter, everything was good, but we lifted up and tilted. You have to tilt the nose forward in order to get air under there to lift the helicopter. But I could feel before we did that it was shaking. And anybody on the helicopter, whether it was me, the reporter, or the pilot, or the photographer, could say, hey, this is a bad flight, or we got to go down. I knew exactly that we had to stop, but I waited for the pilot to say it because I just felt that I shouldn't be the girl who, she's complaining. No, I wasn't. Anyway, so I felt it. And just as I had that thought, the pilot said, we're going back. I said, yeah, it's shaking bad. They had to literally take that helicopter apart to find a filter, is what it was. I mean, they're just so very acute, and I hate to hear that they had engine trouble. That's just that's very heartbreaking. All of it's heartbreaking. And I watched Dr. Luann Woodward from UMMC yesterday telling about it, and I could tell she was close to losing it, and it makes me feel that way too. It's like the time that the sheriff Tyree Jones had to tell about the sheriff deputy who was shot and died in a god awful domestic situation a couple of weeks ago, and I knew he was. Sheriff Jones was like right at the edge. I just knew it. It's so hard when these things happen. It's really just any kind of loss of life like that is heartbreaking. So condolences to UMMC, because I know everybody's just wrecked about this whole thing, and condolences to the family. And when we get the third name, if it's released during the show, we'll pass it along to you. On the happy side of things, I've got Brandon's Mayor Butch Lee. And hello. And just found out you got Bocephus coming to the amphitheater. amp or amph, as people call it, as I've learned. You got Bo Cephas coming.
That's right.
And you got,
announced yesterday.
And you got Rod Stewart coming.
Incredible.
I mean, who do you think you people are? I mean, that's big stuff. That's big stuff. And you got Alison Krauss coming, and some other people I never heard of. But golly, those are heavy hitters. Who does all that booking for
Well, we
you?
got a group up in Birmingham that works with Live Nation, and they bring it in. And a lot of these people, I don't get an opportunity to really interact with a lot of them. A lot of them want to meet the mayor, a lot of them don't. And that's fine too. My purpose in life is really sign a check and wave goodbye to them, welcome, hello, and all this kind of stuff. But, when I do get a chance, like Lana Del Rey or somebody like that, I tell them, I said, these people that are here, we got 72, 74, up to 8,000 people out here. 98% of those fans would have never seen that artist in person.
That's right.
It's not going to happen. So they're going to a place that they're very well received and very much appreciated.
That's nice. The only one of this bunch I've ever seen is Willie Nelson.
All right.
One time he was here. Bert was doing the 10 o'clock news, and they let him, the Willie people, let them do like 30 seconds video only, couldn't do the whole thing. And so, and it turns out Willie liked to watch the #1 newscast of the evening. So, because I wasn't working evenings, I was just working days. And so, anyway, and so Willie was watching, and Bert said, when I'm done here, I'm going to go over to the fairgrounds and see if I can get an interview with him. And Willie heard him and said, let that guy in, So Bert went over there, and the guard said, he's waiting for you, but it might smell a little funny in there. And it did smell a little funny, but he had a great time. Willie couldn't have been nicer.
Great.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
These are people,
Of course.
The whole industry, you'll learn, is probably less than 5,000 people across the United States that are on these tours out there. So it's not a huge group of people that are doing the content and acts, but people like this, the big shows, they'll have a secondary contract with a lighting crew, a secondary contract with a sound crew, all this kind of stuff. So, but it is a business that moves. So it's a mobile business moving across the country.
So they do bring their own sound systems, and they do bring their own lighting.
Correct.
What do you provide? Just the place to put stuff.
The stage house. We provide loading dock and green rooms and dining halls and kitchens and support in the back of the house. Back of the house, front of the house. The fans see the front of the house. The artist sees the front of the house. All the work that supports that goes on behind the house.
I've never asked, what do you do when it rains? Just where you can't use umbrellas.
You get wet. You'd be surprised. The only thing that'll cancel it is bad weather.
Really
storm
bad.
front,
Yeah,
really high
right.
winds or something like that would pause it. But they'll go to the nth degree to make that show happen.
Wow. Well, I can't. I think this is the third time for Willie, because he came and then he got sick or something. And then he came back.
That's right. He actually, this is the fourth time he's been scheduled to be here. The first. I think the first one was a conflict. He got sick, something like that. Second one was something didn't go sideways. Maybe that was a year of COVID or something like that. Ugh. So very unusual he's coming 2 years in a row.
Yes, we like that.
Oh, we like it a whole lot. This year it'll be he and his family. It's not the same show that came last year.
Okay.
Kind of the outlaw crew that came last year with a bunch of supporting acts. This is not going to be that.
Well, though you weren't there to hear it, did they use the usual music? Whiskey River and all that stuff.
Yeah,
they did the usual
yeah.
stuff. Well, this time will be without Bobby. Bobby was his sister, the piano player, and I never saw her face. In fact, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago on the show, and Lance looked it up. He said Bobby looked exactly like Willie. He's like a clone. Like, I can't imagine. But I can't imagine Willie as the woman, but the long hair and the braids and stuff like this.
You sure Lance doesn't need glasses?
I don't know. He just saw that.
She was
picture.
pretty close. There's a lot of similarities there.
That's pretty.
You
funny.
couldn't. You look at me. And go, that's same skin tone, same hair tone.
As wrinkled as he was.
Not really. No, she's a little bigger than him.
Okay, gang. Let's get off of Willie. He's a great
Why?
artist.
No, we like talking about Willie. We like, and his favorite song is. But anyway, you know what his favorite song is?
No.
One more question. Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground.
Okay.
You know why? That was about his mother. Anyway, all right. Why do you want to be elected for the fourth time as mayor, Brandon? That's a lot.
Oh, well, Brandon is a story of can't to can would be a good way to put that. So, wonderful community, raised my family there, chose to live there, my wife and I, and our kids are growing to go now. We have grandchildren. And what we learned came on the board first in 2009, and it was not a pretty picture in Brandon. It was just a lot of financial problems.
Really?
Then when 2008 hit, of course, it hit a lot of places. Brandon's not alone in that regard. But when you wake up and have a lot of wonderful families that send their kids off to college, they go to college, name the college, and they don't come back.
Well, did Jackson and all of its travails, and there have been many, and they've been long running. Are they the ones that helped to develop Brandon by kicking people out of Jackson, getting the heck out of town, or did the town do something that had said to people, "Hey, come on, wherever you're from, wherever"?
We had a board shakeup in 2009 with 4 new board members came on a 7-member board, and the consensus was we're tired of being what we are now. We want to be something different. So
You were then a little
alderman.
No. The town then was like a little bedroom community with not much happening.
We were 15,000 people population inside the city of
But
Brandon.
you didn't have an ID.
You're right. We didn't have an identity of who we were, what we wanted to be. Now, I go around telling people, I can tell you what we were, and I can tell you what we are now. It's kind of difficult to tell you what we're going to be 20 years from now because I don't know where all these people are coming from, but they're coming from a variety of states, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana. They're moving to Brandon, and I'm learning that they want the same thing that we've always enjoyed. We're spoiled somewhat in Brandon because of the quality of life we have.
Well, how do you ID now? I mean, so then you're a little bedroom community, down the road in Brandon, wherever that is out in the boonies, right? And now you are Brandon ID. Your identification is what?
We are the county seat of Rankin County. As Brandon goes, the whole county goes. So a rising tide raises all ships, and that's how I define Brandon. So now we've regenerated and rebuilt our downtown. Still got more work to do there, but just in 6 years now, we're at 6, fixing to be 7 restaurants downtown. We've built 300 parking spaces and all this kind of stuff. So we're supporting our downtown area. We did build an amphitheater for that purpose, for younger adults to have something to do. We expanded our youth parks, so baseball, softball, soccer, pickleball, cross country, the whole
is that
genre.
area out behind the car dealers where the skating rink was for a while? That area there, it's a big open, pretty much a big open area.
We built Quarry Park, which is a 250-acre park on the west side of town to mirror the east side of town, which had Shallow Park. Okay, so Shallow Park was a wonderful facility, still is a wonderful facility, but one day you woke up and there were rooftops all the way around it. And we figured that. So we wanted to identify as a place to raise your children, live, work, raise a family. That's what Brandon is, quality of life.
I'm thinking, I'm amazed that Flowood, boy, have I watched that grow, because I've lived at the reservoir since dirt. It seems like I didn't think it had been there that long, but I have, to watch Flowood grow. And these hotels are like, why do you put a hotel in Flowood, for heaven's sakes? What's to do there? I should probably keep my mouth shut. I've got Flowood people coming on, coming. So you don't have hotels, do you, in Brandon?
Yes, we've announced one, got it under construction, announced another one, had another one that was redone. But yes, as far as we had some older hotels that I wouldn't stay in. I wouldn't take my wife and stay in one, but we're remedying that. So we've got a $50 million project going on by City Hall.
By
got
City
a
Hall?
Home 2 going on that's carrying the dirt off right now. So probably 18 months that'll be up and running there.
Perfect for these people who are coming to the amphitheater. I mean, I would think, and for
that's another
other
thing.
stuff to do.
When you say Flowood, and I've got a lot of friends in
I was going to
Flowood,
ask
got a
who
lot
your
of friends in Pearl.
Is that your biggest competition, Flowood?
I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as what's good for Brandon is good for Flowood, what's good for Flowood is good for Richland, what's good for Richland is good for Pearl. And that's is
good
kind
for
of the secret.
County.
Rankin County. That is correct.
Yeah.
So we all row the boat the same direction. Now, we might get nose to nose arguing about something, but in the end, we're going to be pulling the wagon the same direction.
If people want to get a hold of you, they can call at 888-808-8637. You can send in your comments or questions at 601-879-4395. That's 601-879-4395. That's our text line. And you can watch us, supertalk.fm/Mary. And that's the best way. If you missed the show and you want to watch the show later on, well, you can do that too. So let me just see. There's something on the line here. I don't know if what they're doing here. If they're talking about no, that's not for us. Somebody sent some silly thing, and that's not for us. Anyway, so that's how you can get a hold of us. So what do you need to do that you haven't done in these last few years as mayor?
Well, first term was get the financial house in order. We did that. So we've got a very transparent government. We've got, I think, about 5% of municipalities in the state of Mississippi actually live stream board meetings. And so we do that. We archive things. We've got open books. We submit everything to the state auditor's office as we should. So we took care of that. Good example of that is just last week, I signed the documents on I'm sure you're watching these TVs behind me here, and you see what interest rates are doing.
Oh, that's scary.
So we refinanced $4,487,000 at a 1.6% interest rate. You heard me.
And to do what with it?
1.6.
Yes. Where's it going? That's your operating?
No, that helped pay for fire stations and renovating Shallow Park.
Oh, okay.
But the point is, because of our financial standing, we were able to refinance that and do tax-free bonds at 1.6% interest for the next 10 years. So
the whole interest business, there are those who say, oh, I like a high rate so I can get a rate return on what I'm investing in. On the other hand, well, if they're lower, then things are better on Wall Street.
Well, if you're the ratepayer paying the bill, though, you want the lowest interest rate you can possibly get.
Exactly. Absolutely. And
so first term was getting the financial house in order. Then you began to figure out, all right, what does Brandon want to be? And that's when we took a step toward youth sports and developing more parks and recs and that kind of thing for quality of life. Mm-hmm. Public safety, quality of life, and a place to raise a family. That's kind of where we are.
And then the third term, this one has been, the amphitheater. Whose idea was that, by the way?
It was a group. I remember we went on a road trip looking and thinking about what, had a couple of board members, Chris Benson, Harry Williams, Lou Coker, others, and we wanted to figure out and define what Brandon might be. So an amphitheater came up. Well, do you want to do that or not? First one we went through was through South Haven. Immediately it was, ain't happening in Brandon. We're not going to have something with beer tents and porta-johns. Just not going there. Went to a couple more, then went to Tuscaloosa and the Wharf. And the Wharf was okay. It had a lot of problems, but still it was successful. Somebody had bought it and put some money into it. Then we went to Tuscaloosa, and Walt Maddox was the mayor, probably still is the mayor, and was very kind, allowed me to come over and spend a lot of time with him. They built a wonderful facility in the downtown river next to the Warrior River. And it regenerated the downtown area after that horrible tornado they had that came through and devastated Tuscaloosa. But since then, you've got 3 hotels, multiple mixed-use downtown, restaurants everywhere. So it was the fuse that brought that. Well, and he warned me. He said it's going to take 8 to 10 years for that to happen, and it is beginning. So
how old is it now? It's 3-4 years old, something like that.
What's that?
The amphitheater here?
No, it was. We opened it in 2018.
Oh.
So we had taken off like a skyrocket, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, it's kind of all stopped for that year, and it allowed us to reset and do some other things.
That music tells us we have to stop talking for a little bit. We've got to take a break here. You're listening to Mary Wieden You, and you are talking with and listening to Brandon Mayor Butch Lee. And I'll come back. Somebody did, we're talking about the helicopter accident. I've got a comment to pass along to you about that. We'll be right back. Really?
Way to go, Lance.
It's all Willie all day.
All Willie all
like
day.
That.
Okay, up until April the 10th.
Okay. So that's Mayor Butch Lee, the mayor of Brandon. 042. By the way, I've learned, too, that the way you all talk down there. Okay, I live at the reservoir on the Rankin County side, and we did talk about this one time when you were on, and how it happened, we're not incorporated with any city, which is fine with us. I mean, what the heck? So how that happened was when they built the reservoir in 1965, I guess it was, the west side, Ridgeland, well, that was okay. But the east side over here, Rankin was nothing. They said, whoever they were, said, you have to have a zip code. Okay, the closest one is Brandon. Okay, that's your mailing address. And it is to this day our mailing address only. We are still unincorporated. We don't belong to anybody, and we're happy that way. But people are so ignorant, and it's the media that really drives me crazy. I thought about this a couple years ago. Somebody at one of the stations said, I'm standing here on Spillway Road in Brandon. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I thought that you told me that you called up these stations to tell them, hey.
I try.
Okay.
I try. It goes back to when zip codes were first divvied out. If you didn't have the population, you got whatever the county seat was. And, Gary Rhodes and I laugh about that over the years. He said, yeah, try explaining that to people. So you spend an inordinate amount of time trying to explain that to people. So as the reservoir blossomed, and by the way, my dad took me out there, and I watched the earth movers as a child build the levee for the reservoir. So I've seen. I remember
the wall, right? Around the river because they were digging around.
I remember the drive-in theater on Old Fannin Road there, seeing it.
I spent many a night there as a kid.
We
were with my mama and daddy. They drive us over there, and the first Superman movie, I saw it there.
There you go.
Pretty cool. But there are pictures, I think, in the reservoir office of they put these wooden walls around the river, which came down. Well, nowadays it'd be like coming south from the yacht club.
Well, I can remember being in a boat with my dad and a friend of his, and we got caught at night out on a reservoir. And all we could do, because it was overcast, there weren't any street lights around the reservoir at the time. So I can remember putting down in the reservoir, getting close to the levee to take a left to go to the boat landing. There were no lights. There was no boat docks. There was nothing. So I remember that well. So, yes, Rankin County is growing, and a lot of us remember that.
Well, let me tell this, just this, I want to get this in because I started off talking about the fatal plane crash, helicopter crash. And we had the names of the medical staff. We don't have the name of the pilot yet, but the medical staff, Dustin Pope, a flight nurse, and Jacob Kint, or Kint, part of the medical flight crew. They're both local people. We don't know exactly from where. And, the FAA and NTSB, of course, right there to investigate what happened to that helicopter, which was a Eurocopter, which is a fine product. So there was something wrong. Well, we have from one of our listeners, he goes, I am an FAA certified mechanic. As such, most aviation accidents are caused by either mechanical issues or pilot errors, not weather. Hope this was not the case here. Well, there's no weather yesterday to speak of it, right. So we don't know, and we won't know for a while. But, again, our hearts go out to everybody. I sat there. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know this had happened. And late in the afternoon, I thought I better get myself going here. News and all that kind of stuff. And it had happened.
Sure.
And I saw.
Medical people, is a life of service for them. It really is, just like public safety, when you make that commitment to serve others. And your heart really goes out to them.
Absolutely. And for, having been on a helicopter, and we were very lucky. The only time that there was ever anything that was odd was one time we were flying over the south end of the reservoir, and all of a sudden the pilot dropped down, and he said he caught out of the corner of his eye a small plane was coming from Campbell Field, and they hadn't called approach the tower. He didn't know. Because he had his radio on all the time in his ear, and they didn't do that. And had he not caught this out of the corner of his eye, we would have been gone. The other thing that was somebody was talking about, I've seen some comments online, and they said maybe he was doing, the guy was wrong. The word he was trying to look for is auto rotation. And auto rotation is an exercise. They weren't doing that, though. Fixed wing aircrafts will do touch and go, where they come down onto the landing field, they touch the ground and go. That's what's called touch and go. That's a little exercise they do. Well, helicopters do a thing called auto rotation, and that's where they take the helicopter up to wherever they take it to, cut the engine on purpose, and then the rotors are going, and that's what's keeping you from falling flat, just to make sure that the rotors are operating properly and that the Jesus nut is there and all this stuff. It's called the Jesus nut because you pray to Jesus when you're in hell. You do. So one time they said to me, well, Mary, we're going to go do auto rotation. Okay. So scared to death. Up we went, because we usually flew at 1,000 feet. Up we went. I don't know how far we went up. It seemed like we were up to the moon, but anyway, got the engine. And I'm praying and being quiet. Please, Lord, please let us do it. And it was very quiet. You could hear, I guess, a little whoosh of the rotor, but everything was fine. And then I thought, I just want to hear the thing start up again. And it did, started right up. We had you got to have very good mechanical people on the ground. And one guy was really young. I said, how'd you learn to do this? He said, at Hines Community College teaches aviation. He said aviation's the same, basically, for every craft. And then the Robinson people, and I suppose the Euros and all these other people, they train the pilots on their particular craft. So this kid learned everything that he needed to know from school, and then finished off by the helicopter people. But anyhow, so we getting back here because Mayor, no, he's coming on the show too. He's coming on. G. McGee's coming on in a couple of weeks here, by the way. But he's not running, and this is some other stuff. This is economic development. Yeah.
Well, there was one question that does relate directly to the mayor here. The question's from William. He says, I have a handle on the upcoming Highway 18 bridge and roundabout, but I'm not understanding what I heard about the bypass location. Could you please break that down for me?
Sure. Okay, that is, in common terms, what we would call the East Brandon Bypass, which ties into Highway 80 on the east side of town out by the Rankin County Co-op, bridge over the interstate, and comes down and ties into Highway 18. So this is a conceptual idea that has been put forward to build a roundabout down there at the end of Lewis Wilson that ties into Highway 18 and this roadway that goes all the way up. So it's one of these conversations about, it's almost a chicken or the egg of where the funding's going to come from and which is going to come first, the East Brandon Bypass or the bridge over Highway 18 at Greenfield Road. So obviously we've got tremendous amount of traffic on Greenfield Road, and that bridge needs to come yesterday. The whole idea that you'll get is something called, and I'll be glad to email this to you if you'll send me your email address. My email address is blee@brandonms.org. And it's called the Brandon Loop. So Rankin County has stepped into the fray, and I'm glad they have, because it's a unified front around Brandon to build a loop from 471 north of Brandon, conceptually now. This is all conceptual. A 4-lane that would go to Highway 80, then down to Highway 18, 4-lane Highway 18, all the way back up to Crossgates Boulevard, and then you're at East Metro. So you've got a 4-lane loop around Brandon, and that would very much alleviate a lot of traffic issues that we have. We're a growing community. I mentioned earlier when I came on the board, we were probably at 14, maybe 15,000. The 16th, 17th largest city in the state. Well, now we've eclipsed even Ridgeland, so we're growing so fast. We're probably in the 27 or 28,000 people.
Okay.
So with that comes, we want more restaurants. We want more. We want more quality. We don't want just anything. So if it's not a quality something, we'll kind of shy away from that.
Well, I wish we had a map with us to show this, but if you have a loop around, it's nice for traffic. But do any of your local businesses, like the restaurants, say, "Hey, they won't come to our place"? Then they're going to be passing our place.
No, we've got the remnants of a downtown. Brandon is we're coming up on 2032. We'll be 200 years old. I've told the last 3 mayors of the city of Jackson the problems that Brandon had being 200 years old are no different than the problems that the city of Jackson has. It's just a matter of scale. So we took the bull by the horns. We repaired our water system. We're repairing our
I got the
wastewater system.
Yeah, we're part of that. I have to pay for that. 047 has to pay for that. You know that, right?
047 also broke it, just like City of Brandon, just like City of Pearl, just like City of Ridgeland, just like Mississippi State Hospital, and the airport. We all broke away from the treatment plant that was in Jackson. So we're no longer tied to the City of Jackson. Right. You aren't in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
I'm PRV, but still.
That's right. But you're still not tied to Jackson.
No, we're not
any
tied
longer.
to Jackson, no.
Any longer.
Well, that's the way that goes. What was I going to say about the restaurants? Who does your economic development, and who goes out and actually solicits business? Do you do any of that, or is it just the Rankin First or whatever?
Yes, we have a close relationship with Rankin First and Rankin Chamber.
Have they ever called upon you to go, "Hey, we want to have this big shot, whatever it is, top golf kind of a thing. We want to have that here. We want you to go and get it." Do you do that, or would you? Have you?
Yes, I have. And
what'd you get?
Been in the van doing tours and things like that.
What did you get? What big ones?
We have something I can't share with you right now, but it's reminiscent of. I'll be glad to come back and talk about that when it happens.
Yes.
But this is, let's say, puts it on a parallel with Madison County and some things that have happened there.
That's your competition, really.
Well,
I mean, I know you don't think about competition, but you do have Madison, and you have I must say Gluckstad's amazing. That's been. I'm sure you know Mayor Walter Morrison.
Yes.
Who, by the way, he's not going to be on the show because he doesn't have opposition. Neither does Mayor Mary. And by the way, there's a new mayor in Clinton. Well, she might, but it wouldn't be anything. But I guess. But and by the way, in Clinton, you might say, well, whatever happened in Clinton? Because Phil Fisher is resigning. But there's just one person who ran for it, and he's already, whatever his name
That's
is.
right.
I don't know his name.
I like to. They're all my friends, every one of them.
Yeah.
I like to believe that, but I like to play homage to Gene McGee, to Mayor Mary, and to Gary. Those three. If you look at Flowood and what he's been able to accomplish there, of course, he's using PRVs and Brandon's and Pearl's sales tax dollars is what's built Flowood. But you've got somebody that's been in that office 32 years. I think Gene now is in his 10th. Will be his 10th term. That's 40 years that he's been working on the city of Ridgeland. Mary, I think, could be wrong. You can ask her
Mary's
this.
From
I
the
believe
80s
it's
too.
12.
Well, no, she's back from the 80s because Bert used to say she was this little girl who, they said back in the early 80s, this little girl, and nobody wanted to be the mayor. And she goes, well, okay, I'll do it. Well, look what she did.
If it's 12 terms, that's 48 years.
Yeah, it's about that long.
So
I would say.
They've had that focus of tenure over time to stay on track with the things that need to get done.
Well, what do you want to get done?
We need more transportation, need more restaurants in downtown. We're developing and working with Ergon on that property out at Exit 54, which is Crossgates Exit. We just announced a grocery store there. It's a $30 million thing.
Really?
Sullivan's Marketplace is building there. They're already started construction there.
Not going to get a Publix, huh?
Not going to get a Publix. Publix really hasn't moved into Central Mississippi.
No,
yet.
they haven't, and I'm told that they have to have a market with I think 1 million people or something like that. Well, sorry, we're a little off the mark there. It's some high thing like that. 500,000 will do. But
That's
so
right.
Sullivan's is going to be where?
Close
Somewhere.
to Greenfield Road, exit 54, there by Home Depot. They've already cleared it off.
By the way, I noticed that they talk. Okay, when we say 042 and 047, folks, that's how Brandon. Because that's sort of how you identify where somebody is. Because I live in it's the last three numbers of your zip code, if you didn't know. But I live in 39047, so that I'm at 047. And here's the thing that gets me about people who don't know that just a mailing address. I say to people, okay, call the Brandon Street Department or Public Works and say, my street over here, Audubon Point Drive, it needs some help, and they would say, ma'am, you don't live in but it's a mailbox. It says Brandon on my mail.
I get those calls. I get those emails all the time,
Yeah.
and I direct them to the next appropriate person, whether that's a supervisor. Or,
okay.
So I constantly
you just have
do
to
that.
tell them they don't live in Brandon. But anyway, we'll be back for our final segment. Goes by fast with Mayor Butch Lee of Brandon, who wants to be reelected. Stay where you are. Well, the thing is, folks, welcome back to Mary Wieden You. I have Butch Lee here. He's the mayor of Brandon, and he wants a fourth term. And I can't believe that the primary is on April 1st. April Fool's Day? What? It's for real, but oh well.
Only the Mississippi legislature could do the first Tuesday in April, and it fall on April Fool's Day.
So, but we've been celebrating Willie Nelson because he's coming to April 10th, right?
April 10th, that's
April 10th,
right.
he's going to be at the AMP or AMPH. I say because it's AMPH. I pronounce that. Amphitheater, which is doing very well, isn't it?
We had our 100th show last fall. We've probably had 106 shows, and we're averaging somewhere in the 80,000 visitors a year coming to Brandon. And
When's Bocephus getting here, by the way?
I believe that is in June.
Oh, okay.
No, June the 6th.
June, okay. And the other ones that just blows my mind, you're going to have Rod Stewart. How cool is that?
Well, I try to remind people these are icons, and
Yes.
the people that 8,000, 7,500, and those numbers come out, by the way, of how the artist wants to set the pit down, whether they want all standing, all seated, and that kind of thing. But you're seeing something that you may never ever in your lifetime have an opportunity to see right here in Brandon, Mississippi. And I can remember on a Sunday night, Santana was there a few years back, and that's the night it dawned on me. I pinched myself and went,
Santana.
I'm looking at the
I
number
remember
3
that.
guitarist in the world right here in Brandon,
Pretty cool.
Mississippi. It's kind of cool, yeah.
Kind of cool. How is your finance situation, by the way? You good?
Great. We last 9 years, we've submitted all audits to the state auditor's office on time, on budget. Really am proud of that. If anything
Balanced
else, I was
budget.
proud of.
Yeah, balanced budget.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that by state law or city law? I should know, but I don't.
Well, no.
It's by sensible law, but you know.
My message to the legislature and the governor is sometimes they need to put more pressure on municipal government to take care of their audits. There is a big wave out there that says that you can't get auditors now to come in and audit in smaller cities. I kind of find that hard to believe. If you pay somebody, they're going to do the work. So it's a matter of finding the money to pay for an audit.
Well, we've talked about, so we know that your wastewater treatment, all that kind of stuff, is get your own plant for that. That we pay, we all pay for that one out in Rankin County. But how's your situation with police and fire? Do you have enough? Do you pay enough? How much do you pay starting officers?
I really appreciate. I didn't. Any listener out there, I did not preempt Miss Mary here to say those kind of things.
Well,
so
no.
I appreciate that.
Oh,
but,
yeah, but I mean,
let me tell you,
we bounce off of Jackson a lot because it's the big city and we all reflect on it.
Look,
but that's a big crime is a big thing. You don't have a crime rate per se.
2 years ago, it's because we have a great force. 2 years ago, I began telling the board that we need to have a priority on personnel. So we began to put our money where our mouth is. We want a safe city. Today, any listener out there, that if you know an 18-year-old that's emancipated from the household and you graduate high school, we can hire you at $52,500 is starting pay for a police or fire. Yeah, I see the look on your
Whoa.
face. $52,500. You keep your nose clean and we'll get you through training, get you certified. Once you're certified, you go to 56, and in 4 years, you're at 64.
Ooh.
All you got to do is show up, do your job, go home, keep your nose clean, come back, do your job, go home. It's not complicated. So I call that a living wage.
The reason my eyes open up is because JPD, Jackson Police, just went to $40,000 for starting officers. They feel the pressure of not only I think of the suburbs, but they also feel the pressure of Capitol Police, which is it's a great force, and
Sure.
and they're in the city. They wouldn't have anything to do with Brandon, or even 047 for that matter. But starting at 40, but you're starting them at 50.
52.5.
52.5
out of high school you can be, and so it's you're. Let's say we are taking the steps, just like everything else, water system, streets, government, we're taking steps toward a higher quality, and we want a higher quality person. So recently I asked our police department, I said, I want to know what the percentage of your hires are that you've interviewed and gone through a background check on. And that's coming in somewhere around 13 to 14% of people that are making it through the extensive background. So we're looking for quality.
Oh, wow.
We're just not looking for anybody wearing a badge. And there's been a history sometimes of passing officers around from point A to point B. You know, you're unhappy in Clinton and you want to go to work in Brandon just to get away from Clinton, or you want to go to PRV and work for SO, or you want to go to Pearl, or you want to go to Brandon. And there's been a history of passing people around. And being a person that I'm a retired firefighter, and when I just believe when I say that oath to God and man of a life of service, that you should stand by that oath.
Well, we should say that's a very tough situation, a tough job. You can't go thinking it's glorious. It can be glorious, but it's a very tough job. And you had that horrible thing that happened a couple of years ago,
yes,
where somebody locked himself and shot somebody who was retired and happened to come by who had been out in Ridgeland, which reminds me, John Neal was the retired. He's the retired chief of police out there. We talked about recruiting officers and how the process you go through, and the most important thing I got out of that was character. You have to have, and you have to decide if that person, are they just saying a bunch of stuff, blah blah blah, or are they for real? And it takes a long time, folks. You just don't come in and say, hi, I'm 18 years old, I like to be a police officer. It doesn't work that easily.
18, 28, 38, it really doesn't matter. You've got, so we're trying to have a higher quality person working for the taxpayer.
That's the character aspect of it. Yes. Who's your chief? Who's your chief of police?
Joseph French.
And how long has he been there?
He's been our chief now for fixing to be 18 months coming up. So he's good. He's doing a great job.
Do they usually stay a lot longer than that?
Well, we've had some retire and gone, and that's I think we've gone through. We had 2 fire chiefs that retired and went on to other things. We've had, the law enforcement side has more opportunities outside of local police department. They can go to work for the AG's office. They can go to work for Gaming Commission. They can go to work. Fire is not quite so much, but we've had a couple of captains in our fire department go to work for UMC, for instance, and get a little more money and stay in the system. Now they've retired. We've had some police officers go to work for the railroad as investigators on the railroad, and all of a sudden they're making 6 digits. So there are opportunities. Somebody might want to go to law school. Well, you get 3, 4, 5 years in patrol and begin doing your homework. Then you can. And we help. By the way, we also do benchmarks and educational incentives to help people educate themselves.
So, okay. And literally giving them paying tuition or something like that? Do you do that?
We give them benchmarks and pay raises. So it's $1,000 if you've got a BA. If you earn a BA or a BS, that's worth $1,000 for as long as you're employed with the City of Brandon.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it helps offset the cost of tuition.
Yeah. How many alderman districts do you have?
We have 6 wards. We have 1 elected at large, so we got 7 members. That's another unique thing about Brandon this year. We've got 6 board members. It's the first time I've ever known it to be this way, that do not have opponents.
Wow.
So that tells me the community's pretty much settled on the direction and what's going on in Brandon.
Good relationship with them, do
yes.
you?
Well, a mayor gets caught in the trap of having to enact the will of the board, whether I agree or whether I disagree. So sometimes you have to learn to enjoy the taste of tongue because you're chewing your own tongue.
How much is this campaign, by the way, for Reelection? How much is this costing you so far? You have to file. You might as well tell us because you have to file stuff anyway.
That's right. I'd say a mayor's campaign for me is about a $50,000 thing.
Yeah, and how much have you got now?
I've got
just a couple more weeks. You got the $50,000.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to do media, radio, TV, and stuff like that?
You also learn that the last 3 weeks is when people really wake up. So you're kind of throwing your money away if you do it before then.
Well, people say, "Oh, I didn't know they were running." Yeah, all of a sudden they do come out of the woodwork. I mean, really, but that doesn't give them a lot of time.
April 1 is catching a lot of people off guard.
Absolutely. Well, how have been your voting turnouts so far for the last elections that you've run in? Is it good, or is it just like I hate it when people are ho hum about it? I think get out and vote, for God's sakes.
Well, or quit complaining. But I'm a child of someone that ran for Congress twice. And so I was one of those kids holding signs and all that kind of stuff years ago when we had 5 congressional districts in the state of Mississippi. So my dad ran twice. And I would say it works like this. So you have a year's reprieve where not a whole lot is going on, and then you begin to enter a state cycle, which is mirrored by county cycle. So supervisors and circuit clerks and all this kind of stuff, and state elected officials are running, and everybody gets ramped up. Right behind that comes what? Presidential cycle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So everybody gets excited, and then you get after that November 4, and everybody begins to calm down, and then you enter a municipal cycle, and everybody's about sick of it after 3 years of that.
Well,
so it's difficult getting people out to the polls.
Well, I think I can't. There are a lot of things in the world you can't stand for, but one thing I cannot stand is voter apathy.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, it's like, this is your one opportunity to do something for your community.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go hand out cookies or whatever. You just get yourself in line and vote for somebody.
And talk to your board members. I encourage people all the time. You can talk to me. You can talk to your board member. We'll have a meeting, whatever you'd like to do, but you need to communicate your thoughts to your local elected official.
Well, we'll see what they do on the 1st of April. Are you playing your music yet? Because it's about time for us to run.
I need some Willie songs here if he's playing some music.
Yeah, wonder what he's going to play for us to get out of here, Mayor Butch Lee. I do, wish you luck. It sounds like it's going to be kind of a tough campaign this year. You have opposition. Have you had opposition before?
Yes, had 3 last time, 2 the time before that. And
no, 3, 2, and 1.
The first time there was 0 opposition. It was that hard and horrible of a story. And so I tell that all the time, that it can happen in Brandon, it happened in Horn Lake, it can happen in Pelahatchie, where things get sideways, and it takes years to get over that sideways. Once you get momentum, you better seize it and go with it.
Well, all right. So April 1, that's your good luck deal. When we come back the next time, we'll be talking to some folks from Flowood. So we're featuring Rankin County because that's where all the hot stuff is this time. All right, everybody. Thanks. Good luck to you, Mayor. And
Thank you.
See you all on Friday.
Good to see you.